Good evening and welcome to the Fredonia Central School District Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. We start every meeting with a pledge to our flag. So if I could, I'm going to do something a little bit different, but we've got, I'm assuming a senior.
Yeah.
Okay, could you do me a favor? Could you come on up front and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
That's our quarterback.
This is Ethan Fry. Ethan Fry, nice to meet you. Here's the flag. All you got to do is start.
I'm not going to lie. I don't remember this.
All you got to do is start.
That's all you got to do.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you.
Well done. Make sure you write that in your bonus points. Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Ethan. I appreciate it. So we have a consent agenda here. Adoption of the consent agenda upon a motion and a second and an affirmative vote by members present approves each and every item so designated. However, prior to the adoption of the consent agenda, any board member may remove any item from the consent agenda. This item will then come up for discussion as part of the regular agenda. So, do we have any board members who would, well, let's get it on the floor first, if I could. Mr. Hawk, and a second. Ms. Hahn. Is there anything anyone would like to pull out of consent to discuss? No? Okay. So we've got quite a few personnel things and the appointment of coaches that was done just in time for our new policies. So with that, everyone in favor of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. So with that, the board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual or group. Concerns and comments during this session should be directly related to items listed on the proposed agenda, but we are soft on that. So audience members seeking a response should complete a board correspondence sheet. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? I know we have one individual. Yes, we have a mic right there, if you would.
That's what I was told.
Hello. Whoa.
I
can use my teacher voice here.
Your name and address.
My name is Beverly Horriggs, and I live at 5481 Oakdale Avenue, Van Buren Point. Okay? And I'm going to read. I wrote a little script here. It's going to be a lot easier if I do this than just talk.
Yep.
Good evening. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Beverly Horriggs, and I'm a retired teacher counselor from La Guida Center BOCES. Including my years subbing, I have 45 years working in the educational system. I hold a master's in reading and 3 additional certificates. One as a special education teacher, one as a counselor, and one as a special education counselor. I'm beginning my 8th year subbing, only missing the pandemic timeout. And I make $110 a day as a substitute teacher for Fredonia Central School District. There was never any formal training coming into this position, learning how to use the computers, including upgrades, the smart board, which was an experience in itself, and I'm still learning, doing attendance, lunch counts, behavior management, emergency drills, dismissal, and a variety of other routines were learned by trial and error, information shared by teachers that I contacted by email, and the secretarial staff in the elementary and middle schools. As a substitute teacher, I am responsible for the daily educational needs of the students I teach. I am often changed into a special education classroom because of my background, because of a shortage of subs. I also, a number of times, have been placed in a co-teaching classroom alone because of the shortage of substitutes. I realize that this can also happen to the teachers in the classroom, but again, they know their students and are getting paid far more than $110 a day. You recently had an article in the paper stating how the district is working diligently to hire substitutes. There was even a job fair, I believe, to bring in more subs. Well, as of Friday, October 10th, there was one major enticement missing to bring in more people and to keep those already employed as substitute teachers, an increase in salary. Dunkirk pays $165 a day for all retired teachers. Silver Creek raised their daily rate for all retired teachers. Last year they paid $120. This year it is up to $150 a day. In December, when minimum wage increases, your per diem rate is barely over that. If you want to have more subs, your wages for substitutes must also increase. Will it fill in all your openings with a higher per diem? I sincerely doubt it. Being a teacher is often a thankless job. Being a substitute is oftentimes worse. It will, however, show that the board understands our worth to the district and is doing more than holding a job fair, which can be helpful, but doesn't usually hold a new hire if you're not competitive wage-wise. I thank you again for allowing me the time to speak and hope you will seriously take into consideration what I presented tonight and act on it soon. I truly love working with the teachers at Fredonia and would like to accept more openings there than I currently am because of the low per diem rate.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss.
Can I just say, Beverly, again, thank you so much for chatting. We do have a resolution coming up that's related to the substitute issue, and I will be making a few comments, and I'll incorporate a couple of things that you said tonight, but we appreciate the feedback and input, absolutely.
Again, thank you for coming out. It does help the board to understand some of the issues that people in the district have, so thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? No? Okay. So we have minutes from our last meeting and an amended minutes from the regular meeting of September 13th. Could I get a motion to bring both of those to the floor, please? Mr. Johnston, and a second. Ms. Gullo. Okay. I'm going to ask Ms. Slagle, just as far as the corrections on the amended minutes from the 13th.
Sure. So we just had to make one change on the dates for, just pull this out here. So we had discussed a date change for one of our personnel items at the last minute, last meeting, and that correction was made verbally, but then I did not put it in the minutes. And so the version that you got in your backup was highlighted with the change, so that would be the only change.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
a date change.
Okay. Any other comments, corrections, questions on the agendas? Okay. All those in favor of approving that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have the financial treasurer's report and the budget status report. Mr. Forbes?
Yes, before I talk about the budget status report, I would like to apologize to the board. I think at some point in May or June, we had a discussion about the delay in getting June reports to the board, and I believe at that time I said that I would give a preliminary report, pre-final audit, and apparently that was my intent, because when I asked Mrs. Slagle to check and see if it was on the board packet, and I just missed it somewhere in the summer, she said it wasn't, and I had the file sitting on my desk, so
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Thank you.
Because I had intended to give this to you. This is still not final audit. We're hoping to wrap everything up tomorrow, but I think it's going to be pretty close to what you'll see as a final number when we get all done with that. So taking a look at the budget status report, we'll just go through a couple things. Part of what happened during the course of the year was, and bear in mind that we budgeted 18 months ago for these figures, we had a dramatic increase, as everybody's seen, in costs of all kinds of things. And that's reflected in the areas that you would typically expect us to be impacted if we don't. Taking a look at page 2 of the budget status report, about 2/3 way down the page, both in the natural gas and electric areas, we ended up in the hole, 23,000 on gas and 68,000 on electric. Again, that's a reflection of the changes in utility prices. Going on to special education, which, and these are things that are a recurring theme through the course of the year and that we've talked about. The special education for out-of-district placements, non-BOCES, we were 280,000 over budget. For district placements in BOCES, we were 153,000 over budget. And then also for English language learner services that we had to get through BOCES to assist those students, we were almost 50,000 in the hole in those areas. Now, part of that we will get aid back, obviously BOCES aid, you have the BOCES aid coming back. And the things that I mentioned there, 2 of the 3 are BOCES, and you also have stacked aid coming back against the out-of-district placements, but it's a pay me now and get the money in the subsequent year. So it becomes a cash flow issue potentially if these continue to happen. Also in the area of transportation, fuel was up 72,000 over budget, and the actual transportation for the students was up 66,000, which is reflective of the out-of-district placements, and that's on page 12. So as a whole, when you take a look at it, we basically ended the year almost spending exactly what we budgeted. We were 14,000 to the good as far as budget versus actual on the expenditure side. And I can tell you that that is a place we have not been in a long time. And at first, when I first ran it, it was actually over. I'm like, holy cow, how could this be? But then there's things that get adjusted, like insurance premiums that we collect the employees we bring back in and things like that. So we ended up fairly to the good there.
You did good.
Those are the things that make me nervous. Any questions on that report?
So, that was kind of asked by another board member, was the American Rescue Act. And what was our expenses there? I know we've increased the cost to use that money, but what does it show in this? You know, do you have a tally? I mean, like you tallied up $510 special ed that it ran over.
I actually have a document that would show that. I don't have it here.
Do you have an idea what that number is?
Well, the first round of the ARP monies was mostly designed to be personal protective equipment, technology, and those kinds of things. So that was probably, I want to say, 300,000 or so. And those two, the ESSER 1 and the GER 1, were spent in full. The second round, which is the second year, which is ESSER 2 and GER 2, those add in salaries, which are reflected in a reduction of a line item here because the cost is moved over to that grant fund. Not all the positions that we had initially targeted were filled because we couldn't find people, and so you then have the ability to amend and use that money in the subsequent year to the current year. And then we also have on top of that the American Rescue Plan money, which does have the third year of the salaries for the individuals that were hired.
Okay, so hearing all that you said, for this year's budget status report for the end of June 30th of 2022, what was the dollar amount?
If I had to guess, I would say we were somewhere in that $300,000 to $500,000 range, including some of the personal protective. But I can gladly send something out to the board that shows I got all broken out.
Okay. What was our appropriated fund balance for this budget?
$1,127,000.
Okay. So that pretty much alleviates that cost there.
Yeah, what you're going to see is when we get the final number, a decrease in fund balance overall, and it's going to be reflective of 3 things. One would be the fact that we applied $1 million and we basically didn't bring much surplus back to offset that. Two, the two reserves that we picked up, we talked about, teachers' retirement reserve, which we do have the ability to slide that as we need to, and the additional funding that we put into the capital reserve of $150,000. So those three things will bring down your unappropriated amount from that 12% range to something probably in the 7, 8 range, maybe 9.
Okay, so you're talking about two different things. I was talking about what we applied to the fund balance. You're talking about our percentage that we hold.
Where we applied $1.1 million in 2022.
John, can you refresh my memory? So with these monies we're getting, is it over a 3-year span?
Yes.
Okay, and we're in year 2 now?
Yes.
Okay. And do we get an equal amount every year, or is it more in the first year compared to second, or?
It's not equal. It's not necessarily set up to be more in the first or second year. It's just how they distribute the funds. There is some discussion, Dr. Zilak and I talked about that districts are kind of seeking the state and federal approval to maybe push that out a little bit because some districts haven't used the funds because they didn't know how we continue it. And that's going to be obviously something we have to consider for any positions that were added and paid for by those funds. What are we going to do at the end of year 3?
Right.
So that's part of the discussion, but they had the original round, which was roughly $300,000. They had the second round, the third round, which was, and they're all under the umbrella of the American Rescue Plan, but they specifically had the ESSER and the GER, year 1, year 2, year 3 was the ARP as a whole. That's the large number. And then they had ARP 5%, ARP 1% for after school, ARP 1% for summer enrichment, and then there's a smaller one that's designed to help in the homeless situation. So the big bubble was the main ARP.
Right.
And in the document that I can send to the board, I can list that out for you as well.
Right. So we have to use that money by year 3, but if I hear you correctly, there's talk about pushing it beyond 3 years, or?
There will be desire
to push
many districts' parts to do that.
Yeah.
Whether or not that happens.
Remains to be seen, you know? And
Mis-
so we need
Mr.
to-
Johnson, just to, I
Yep.
mean, interrupt, but just, that's coming from school districts and superintendents, the desire to have the consideration out there to extend it into a 4th and potentially even a 5th year. I'm not implying that anyone in the decision-making arena is seriously looking at that, but there's more and more conversation about that as, could that be considered from the superintendents? I would agree that another year or 2 would be helpful. Right now, though, it's at the end of next year.
Right.
That is the call.
And really, districts that didn't apply into personnel, they had a lot of money available for other things. And, we were able to use a good chunk of first technology on the front end to try to get us to that one-on-one computer part. There's other districts that maybe didn't have that need, and now they're sitting there
Wondering what they're going to do. Okay. Yep, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Next, we have the revenue status report.
Much like the budget status report, we ended up really tight. We're actually about 80,000 less than we had budgeted. This figure, I'm not as comfortable as the final yet. We're still looking at whether or not to take in our final printout. So we'll be able to answer that probably after we're done doing the work tomorrow. But essentially, we're even on both sides of the budget this year.
You did good. Okay. Any questions on the revenue status?
John, on the revenue status, I didn't go through this carefully, but is our $1.1 million appropriated funds included in income here as revenue?
No.
So,
Added together, and that equals expense out.
right, so actually, with the $1.1 million that we applied, we came $88,000 short without using that money.
In the overall scope of things, that when you add it together at the end of the year, you take a look at the expenditure side, you take a look at the revenue side, and then you factor in the fund balance, so they're all together. So So we're pretty much use the fund balance, revenue side almost even, expense side almost even.
Okay. So then what dollars do we anticipate collecting that we spent as a whole that can be put back into fund balance beyond June 30th?
Well, out of this final information here, the anticipation originally was that would be somewhere in the $500,000 to $600,000 range of surplus to go back against the million. And as it sits today, you're basically nothing.
Right. Okay.
Which then does what we wanted it to do, but a little quicker, which was to get that number down a little bit.
So overall, I'm looking at page 2 on this, I don't know, it says budget status report, but it's not the breakdown. I see the anticipated balance is $615,000 and excess revenues of $527,000.
Which document is it?
Yeah, so it just says page 2, revenue status report.
Okay, all right, I'm with you.
Far right-hand side, you got 615,000 anticipated balance, and then you have an excess balance of 527,000. What are those figures?
Okay. If you turn to the document before that, the revenue report before that, which is the single page, which says revenue report, down at the bottom, you'll see 88,000, negative 88,000. So if you take the 615 to 527 on the report you're looking at, it nets out to the 827. Because you'll have some line items that you exceeded what you anticipated, like Medicare, and some that you didn't get as much. Those two columns represent the pluses and the minuses. So really, if there was a way to have a net total underneath that, it would show 88,000.
Okay.
Also, as long as we're on those two reports, I had given you the budget dashboard 2 meetings ago, which reflect these numbers. I do have extra copies, or I think I gave it to you. In any event, I have them here, and I can give it to you if you like.
Okay. Okay. With that, we have the treasurer's report for June of 2022. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please? Ms. Gullo and Mr. Hawk, second that. Mr. Forbes, any comments on that?
They all balance, which is good, so the reports are good. At one point, Mr. Marshall had asked about the amount of interest that we're earning on the main accounts. So we filed all the paperwork to get back in the queue with the banks to do. We have limited amounts of things that we can invest in. We can't invest in stocks and bonds and things like that. Those treasury notes, repurchase agreements, CDs, those kinds of things. So all the paperwork's been filed to get us back in the queue for that. Now that we've got the tax revenue coming in, so we should be able to at least garner a little more interest than 20 cents a month on some of these accounts. So
Banks are still flush, so they don't want to pay.
they're up a little bit. So.
Maybe they've doubled.
And I've been here long enough, I remember there were years that we were getting several $100,000 of interest revenue, and that hasn't been since some time.
They just raise it 3/4%?
That's
what they charge.
It is. But they were paying like 1/100th of a cent. Now they're paying 2/100ths of a cent. So
It's doubled.
yeah, well, as I say, it's doubled. Yeah. Okay. All the debits equal all the credits.
Yep.
Everything balances, the checkbook and the bank statements equal your records, so everything is good. Any questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the approval of a memorandum of an agreement between the Fredonia Central School District and the Fredonia Civil Service Employees Association. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Johnston. Okay. The board has backup. We understand this, but for the public session, if you could just kind of explain this MOA.
Yeah. As we've talked about several times over the course of a few different meetings, the district is always responding to the needs of our students, and the needs of our students often change due to a variety of circumstances. And as needs change, sometimes our response or our intervention or our way of addressing those changing needs shifts as well. This is something we started the school year in a position where we thought we had the bulk of those needs covered, and as the beginning of this year started to unfold, we recognized we had additional needs, especially in a particular situation, and we recognized that we needed a person who could really be of service in this scenario. This is a very unique position, a little bit different than what we ask the majority of our aides to do, so that is how this falls under the special class aide, which is a title within the contract of the association, but not one we have filled recently. So for those changing needs and wanting to support students the best we can in a little bit different way, again, that's very unique. This MOA made sense to have somebody in this position and recognize the uniqueness of what they bring to the table and what they will need to do to offer those services. So that's how we got here. We're really happy with the outcome here. Again, one of the things we pride ourselves on is that what students need, we can deliver, and this is a good example of that. Mrs. Farrow has been very involved and helpful in this process. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to that.
I think he summarized it pretty well. I think there's, to me, the resounding theme is that we need to respond to the needs of our students, and we've been able to do that.
Okay. Any questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Farrow, for all the work you've put into this. Mr. Ziliak, when it's taking care of a student in need, that's appreciated.
Sure. Mr. Paschke, high school principal, also.
I knew I'd miss somebody.
It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Paschke.
Happy to help.
Okay, next we have another memorandum of agreement between the Fredonia Central School District and the Fredonia Teachers Association. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Ms. Gullo and Mr. Hawk. Again, Mr. Ziliak, the board has backup, and we've read this, but just an explanation for the public.
Yep, and this ties into our speaker this evening. Again, Beverly, thank you again. So yes, we have been struggling to start this school year with a shortage of subs, and that takes a couple different forms. It could be teacher subs, it could be subs for aides as well that play out each day. In talking to Mr. Drowninger and Mrs. Troutman earlier tonight, I think there may be a day or two this school year that they have been quote-unquote fully staffed, meaning that each day typically, especially at their two buildings, we are short subs or short positions, which causes, as I think Beverly was alluding to, a lot of adjusting and adapting and moving people in a way that makes it work for the day, but not a position of strength for the district. So we put a few different measures in place to begin to chip away at this problem. Yes, we've held several job fairs, one at the end of the summer, and then most recently, the past 3 Tuesdays, including today. We did this as a way to get the word out there and attempt to get more people in sub positions, and that's been somewhat successful. Another measure that we're looking at, and I think this has been mentioned in some of the communications to the board, is the idea of either what some districts call a contract sub or a building sub, where a substitute would be offered minimum days per year to just report to that same building. That would ensure that someone is there each day, and the administrative teams can then use that person how they see fit on that given day. So that's a conversation and a work in progress right now. Another piece of this puzzle, and this was a MOA that came up in the second half of the first year I was here, and came up again last year, and now it's finally come to fruition, that we could have teachers serving as subs for a period of day and to be compensated for that time. The other item that we have on the back burner, and we haven't pursued it, and that is correct, with a great deal of urgency right in this moment, is what are we paying our substitutes? How does that compare to other districts, which you've outlined at least some of them tonight. And I think if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, including some of the smaller districts in the area, we're in the middle of the pack. And there's certainly some districts paying more. So we are absolutely looking at all of those factors and really just trying to, again, solve the issue while also being fiscally responsible to our school community. One of the things that is a theme, as John had mentioned earlier from last year, is increased costs for this year at least in special education and also in transportation. And we're weighing that out and seeing what it is that we can do in the meantime. But this particular MOA on the agenda tonight allows teachers to assist us with some of that, probably more in unique scenarios or scenarios that come up spur of the moment on a daily basis, and that's one of the steps that we're taking to address that. So in our minds, this is a work in progress. We're taking it one step at a time, and we're hopeful that through a variety of measures, we can get to a place where we're not having this issue on a daily basis, or at least on a very rare day that we would be short or not have subs to cover. So all of that is in play. This is our first stop along the way to hopefully resolving the concerns.
So I've got a question. Something over the years I think I've heard in the circles is that administrators sometimes fill in the shoes of the school teacher. We have 10 administrators, and how often do they take that role, and is that even feasible?
I think over a short period of time, that is feasible, and I'll let a couple people speak to this. And we have had administrators chipping in and being part of this. Is that sustainable over a long haul? Probably questionable, and like anything else, when someone is occupied doing task A, they can't necessarily attend to task B, C, or D, which might be more in line with their job descriptions. But I know both Mr. Troutman and Mr. Drollinger have been involved in this, and I don't know if either one of you would like to share just a little bit of your experience, and certainly Mr. Paschke, you can as well.
I think all of us have jumped in. I was teaching French last week for a couple periods, and phys ed. Jamie's done phys ed. I ran 3 study halls at one time last week. We do what we have to do to try to help.
Thank you. Well, more so to the MOA, this is taking a situation where we're using a person that has the allocated time to do this. So we're only looking at really moving them, but using them. So that's why I asked that question, because as you pointed out, task A, B, and C, pre-scheduled, fluctuation. So,
Right.
So you're still willing to teach a class?
I'll jump in. Sure.
Watch out, they'll come in from the board next.
I'll go down and shop.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have a transportation contract between us and Silver Creek. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Mr. Johnston, a second.
Second.
Ms. Goa. Okay. I guess I'm disappointed, Mr. Forbes, you couldn't get this down to 50 cents with your negotiating skills.
They've helped us out twice, 2 years in a row, at $1 a year, that's a pretty good deal.
You couldn't get it to 50 cents, though.
I was surprised I got it for $1.
All right. Any questions from the board?
I just want to say thank you. I'm sure that, it's something that everybody's looking at, trying to gain a little access to, which is shared services and so forth. We spoke some to, other people about this, but yeah, this is just one small step.
Yeah, and we appreciate Silver Creek, and the next motion is also part of this. So we got a first student run that we piggyback down with Dunkirk. They pick our student up, pick their students up, and then they go to the drop point in Silver Creek, and Silver Creek takes them the rest of the way. So everybody's got the same issue, they're short on drivers, trying to make it work.
Work together. I hope you understand my humor, and you did a good job. Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have an item that was tabled from last meeting. If I could get a motion to remove this from the table. Mr. Hawk, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Goa. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So we have this, the piggyback transportation contract with the Dunkirk City Schools. Can I have a motion, now that it's off the table, now it's off the table, can we bring that back into the agenda?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, and a second. Mr. Hawk. Just, again, an explanation on this. Probably Mr. Forbes did just as good as we're going to get, but explained it well.
It's just us to Dunkirk to Silver Creek to North County, so
Okay,
those are 2 pieces that we have to pick up for that.
okay. Any questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Next, we have the appointment of Samuel Correa as a teacher's aide. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Ms. Gullo, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Johnston. Mr. Ziliak.
Yeah, so my organizational skills, I'm not sure where the breakdown was, so we've gotten in the habit of sharing some quick bio information about each of the candidates, so I apologize to Mr. Correa tonight, as well as Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Hamilton. I misplaced that, I don't have it. Please just know that we do a thorough interview of all our candidates, complete with reference checks. And we feel good about all 3 individuals coming on board. I can share that with the Board of Education tomorrow, and we could revisit that at our next meeting, if that's okay.
Okay.
Please know we are happy to have all 3 coming on board, and look forward to their contributions to the district.
Great. Any questions from any board members? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next, we have the probationary appointment of Haiti Colin Gonzalez as a position of cleaner. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So,
Mr. Hawk, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Gullo. You guys got to step up here, Ms. Hahn and Mr. Johnson.
They're doing such a good
They're
job.
doing all the work here. Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have the probationary appointment of Michelle Hamilton as a teacher's aide. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor?
Second.
Was that Mr. Johnston and
Yeah.
Ms.
Mr.
Hahn?
Johnston.
All right. Any questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Ziliak,
Yes.
we have our superintendent's report.
Oh, we do?
Yes,
We do.
yes.
Couple,
Thank you.
couple things to do tonight. So as you know, we send out a s'more each week, which will be ready to go tomorrow. We have a draft of it here tonight, but just wanted to offer up some thanks. And we did not do an update yesterday or last week to the community, so a couple things a little behind on. First of all, everybody who was involved in organizing homecoming, fantastic job, a good time, great time was had by all. Also wanted to just recognize, I feel like there's a lot of faculty and staff really embracing this idea of offering innovative, dynamic, and global learning opportunities and experiences for our students, and that's been a real continuation of the work that was done last year, but feeling really good about those aspects. So thanks for everybody for really embracing that vision statement. Also, to everybody who has recognized, celebrated, done some type of an activity with Hispanic Heritage Month. We have absolutely upped our game around this year and had a lot of fun with it, while also really celebrating and recognizing different cultures. Also want to just say to our student athletes and coaches who have really represented our teams well this year, I feel like we've done a really nice job with sportsmanship and fair play, and I think that's been represented on the field. And also just wanted to say thanks for all those involved in unified sports as well. Again, really another nice layer here at Fredonia of students and adults working together in the spirit of belonging. So just wanted to thank everybody for those pieces. I also wanted to share that, as you know, each school year, the district, both from a larger perspective and also at the building levels, really looks to have focus areas in the spirit of continuous improvement and always moving forward and always looking to make adjustments that are going to put us in a better place. From a district point of view, there's really 5 things that we're going to be looking at this year. And in subsequent meetings, we'll kind of be breaking down 1 or 2 of these at a time, providing a little bit more information, providing some of the action steps that we've taken or will take to bring these things to life over the course of the school year. But for right now, we're really looking to promote and sustain, again, that updated mission, vision, and core beliefs that we've been talking about now into the 2nd year. We're also looking to, again, develop a deeper understanding of our overall academic programs and think about what are those next steps instructionally for our district that will continue to move us closer to that vision. Also to establish an environment of belonging for everybody across the district that supports dignity for both students and adults. We also are looking at creating a clear plan to maintain and upgrade our district facilities based on the need that we have and see in the district. And there will be a lot of conversation about this year. We've got a lot of feedback regarding our facilities and probably most notably our sports fields and other athletic facilities, and that is certainly on the table for discussion at this point. Last, in terms of the district focus areas, are again thinking about creating a fiscally responsible budget that really aligns to our mission vision, but also is respectful of our taxpayers and that supports student achievement. So those are the focus areas as we think a little more broad from the perspective of the larger district. At the building level, and we've touched on these before, but I just wanted to regroup around them again, is this idea of really recognizing and supporting the basic needs of our students. And there are currently, and we will get to these action steps happening to do our best to make sure that that's happening. Also thinking about implementing procedures, protocols, and strategies that build positive relationships between the adults and the students within our district. Thinking way back when to the beginning of my time here, part of my entry survey when I asked the community to comment on things, this was one of the things that came loud and clear in that feedback, that people felt like we really have strong relationships and we're looking to build and capitalize on that even more over the course of this school year. Also developing social emotional learning skills that result in self-awareness, self-management, and the ability to focus on academics and achievement goals. So we're excited about the developments in social emotional learning. And lastly, thinking about the purposeful, consistent, and innovative educational experiences and really offering students targeted instruction and intervention that really addresses student needs. So those are all the things happening at the building level. And I think the combination of these two, the larger district focus and the building priorities, put us in a great place to make progress this school year and really take what we've been doing to the next level as a school district. So in subsequent meetings, we'll take a couple of those focus areas and get into more detail about what exactly is happening and how we're bringing these things to fruition in the district. Absolutely appreciate our district admin team, building level administration really taking on those 4 school level focus areas and really, I think by the end of the year showing that we've made a lot of growth in those areas. Any questions about the focus areas at this point? Lastly, I just wanted to touch on, in the consent agenda are a number of coaching hires for the winter sports season, and we're excited to eventually get that season up and running as we start to wrap up the fall season here. Please remember that over the course of last year, one of our district focus areas was to update our athletic philosophy, update our coaches' handbook, and also reinforce our board policies and remind everyone of the board policies that connect to athletic or sports within our district. Really, all that work outlined guidelines in the way we will operate at the modified level, the JV level, and the varsity level. A lot of it spoke to the positive attitude and energy we want our adults attached to our athletic program as well as our students to exhibit within the programs. We mentioned and outlined how we want our athletes as well as our coaches to respond to adversity, how we would like them to respond to our game officials, regardless of whether we agree with a call that might have been made or not. We also included a lot of information of ways in which we hope our coaches will motivate our student athletes, and maybe touching on some ways we hope they will not attempt to motivate some of those students, and also really just in general upholding our larger mission, vision, and core beliefs within the athletic program. So the next phase of this really became, okay, so what does this look like in terms of our hiring of our coaches? And we settled on that we should really mirror what we do when we hire teachers. Coaches are really just another version of a teacher, typically not within a classroom, but out on the sporting field. So in that spirit, we really got back to the idea of looking internally at those candidates that are already connected to our district, seeing if there is a candidate there that is qualified, being very thorough in our reference checks and our interviewing during that process. And if we find someone qualified within the district, then we would offer them that position. And if we cannot find somebody qualified, or if there is not an interest, looking externally into the school community for people that would be interested in the position. In doing that, we also outlined those attributes and those characteristics of coaching that we think are important and key for us to make sure that the people we're bringing in demonstrate these attributes and characteristics. And that might look a little different at modified as it does to JV, as it does to varsity as well. From all of this, we believe we will have a stronger program. And it really creates an atmosphere where we're going to maximize potential, not only of individuals, but also of our teams, and really be as successful as possible. Again, this has been a team effort between our building level administration, the Board of Education, our athletic director, Greg Lauer, and this has really been a team effort. So we are working hard to implement all those things into what we're doing as part of our routine as a district and making progress in that regard. So I just wanted to speak a little bit to the coaching and that they were in the consent agenda this evening. Any questions there?
If I could just correct you just slightly,
Yep.
and that you had said that there were some important attributes, and you're right, there are important attributes to our coaches, but there are some that we will not bend on. There are some that there's standards that they're not important, they're
Critical.
they're critical, and we will not break those bounds.
Sure. Okay. And that's again where the reference checking becomes important.
Okay, thank you. I give another opportunity for public speaking. Is there anyone who would be interested? The observer doesn't want to?
No, I'm good.
No, you're good? Okay. No seniors? Okay. You're not? Okay, well, I just checking. I didn't know if you felt good coming up and wanted to repeat.
I think the national anthem was enough talking for me. You know what I mean?
Okay. Can you say hike? All right, so the next regular meeting of the Board of Education, so you guys can, you seniors, you can come back in 2 weeks on the 25th if you'd like. You know, I know it's been a great experience for you. It's the 25th, 2 weeks from today, 6 o'clock, right here in the high school library. I would also like to, I guess I've only got 3 other board members here right now, but Dr. Rick Timms will be giving a presentation to the Chautauqua County School Board Association on October 19th in Celeron. So if anyone would like to attend a New York State budget analysis presentation, you can talk to Ms. Slagle by, I think it's this Friday, the 14th.
Yeah, I don't have the date in my
Yes.
mind, but
Yes.
that sounds right.
So if you'd like that, that's all I have. Mr. Hawk?
How are you?
Good. Do you have anything to add?
You know, I just want to give a shout out, and I think John is administrator for the facility, so, you know, the blacktop driveways, parking lots, painting, you know, looks fantastic. It really seems to hold up, so, you know, those people did a nice job, and I see they fixed the manhole out here.
Yep.
So, yeah, things are looking good out there. Whenever I get a chance, I try to drive through and just take a peek.
Yeah. Mr. Johnston?
This is your night, John. Thank you also for the transportation. You know, it's great that you're working with other districts to try to lower the costs for all districts, so thank you for that. I also want to thank our public speaker tonight. Subbing is difficult. Thank you for working in the district. We really appreciate that. And I really take the heart, something that resonates with me is what you said about mentoring, about coming in as a sub and not knowing where the attendance book is, and maybe we can put something together where we can mentor our subs like we mentor our teachers. And
That would be awesome.
yeah, and thank you again for coming in.
Yeah, yeah. Good comment. Ms. Hahn,
Nothing for me?
nothing?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Paskey, what's going on in high school?
We're finishing up National Hispanic Heritage Month that Dr. Ziliak's mentioned. We've been playing different styles of Hispanic music every morning for the entire month. We'll be wrapping up this Friday. Tomorrow, we actually have a Hispanic dance after school in the gym for an opportunity for students to learn how to do some of the cultural dances, so that's exciting. 5-week grades closed on Friday. Teachers have them due tomorrow, so those will be communicated home. It's also a fun aspect of our students, right? You guys like getting your grades, yes? Of course they do. Always good, which opens up for our seniors the opportunity to flex based on how well they do on their grades. CommonLit, our benchmarking software for literacy, we finished with all of our students, the first of 3 benchmarks throughout the year, and that's going to be shared with all of our teachers, along with interventions that will help our kids to improve in literacy. We're going to be hitting some more opportunities for teachers to learn how to do these interventions on the October 31st in service. Parent-teacher conference is coming up. We will be using myconferencetime.com for signups for that, but they will be in person in the high school. The next 2 weeks, we'll have those on Thursday night. So we're looking forward to that. We are in process of meeting on something called the Seal of Civic Readiness, something that we can offer to our students that really is a demonstration from the state. That's another seal on their diplomas that demonstrate, for students that demonstrate a high level of civic knowledge, civic skills, and civic mindset and civic experiences. Really heavy on commitment to participation in government, and an action project in civics that is included in this. This is something we're going to need to apply for to the state, and we're in discussions on doing that right now. National Honor Society induction ceremony is coming up on the 17th at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. The Tri-M National Music Honor Society induction is on the 25th. That's also the same day as our Pops concert. So the induction is at 5:30. The Pops concert for high school is at 7. We are going to be doing our panorama survey again. That's going to be happening on our second half day, which is on the 28th of October. On the 29th, we have our Halloween parade, and the high school band is going to be participating in that downtown Fredonia. We have part of our DSIP, one of the things that we've been focusing on is something called the Fredonia 5, and that's been going extremely well. I've been visiting classrooms. Teachers are purposefully taking 5 minutes of class time to have discussions with students about non-content related things to help bolster relationships with students. And then our faculty meeting that we have tomorrow, we're going to be introducing another piece from the DSIP called the Lunch Bunch, where teachers are going to be visiting the cafeteria and spending time with kids at lunchtime. So again, just non-content stuff where we're going to be building relationships with kids. This was up on the TV a couple minutes ago, Careers in Construction. We had 20 kids approximately attend a field trip. And on this field trip, they were able to participate in hands-on activities like bricklaying, welding, painting, carpentry, operating a backhoe, for goodness sakes, operation of many excavators and skid steers. So the kids were able to participate in that. That went well. Just kudos to Mrs. Depew who set that up and took our kids on that field trip. I think this is it. Last but not least, we're planning a Great Start PBIS event for our kids, where teachers will be nominating kids that just got off to a great start in the year. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're like the top of the class. Just kids who just had a really good start to the school year are going to be having cider and donuts with those students at the end of the month. That's it.
So you didn't say anything about homecoming?
It went great. I thought you hit that. I was trying to avoid all of the...
I thought Mr. Ziliak stole your thunder.
Yeah, he did. So I was trying to... I took some things out as you guys mentioned them.
All right.
But homecoming went great.
Yeah. Ms. Troutman.
All right, Thursday, our 7th grade is traveling to Letchworth State Park. We try to do that every year. It's paid for with a grant. They have coach buses that come and get the kids, and it's really related to our science classroom, so Mr. Wag does a wonderful job with that. Last week, we had our pictures taken on Monday, and we had book fair all week. The library was just a buzzing with kids purchasing books, so that was really excited. Last week, Wednesday, our 8th graders Zoomed with Thurman Thomas. And other area schools, so that was pretty exciting. We had to make sure that they knew who Thurman Thomas was at first. But our ELA teachers connected it to personal narratives that they're working on within their classroom. So that was pretty cool, and the kids wore jerseys, and it was a good time. Our emergency go-home drill went really well last Friday. Everybody got out safe. Our ENL class is taking a field trip tomorrow to a local apple orchard in Forestville. So the kids are real excited about that. We have a middle school activity night coming up this Friday, 6 to 8 o'clock. And so we're starting to get back to normal. We haven't had one of these in a long time, so the kids are very excited about it, and so are we. Darren spoke about it. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up October 20th in the middle school. We're going to do that via Zoom. We had a lot of parents who appreciated that because they didn't have to change their schedule too much. But then on October 27th, we're going to do it in person. So we're trying to meet the needs of all of our parents and give both options for that. So, busy time.
Good. Good to hear. Mr. Drollinger, the elementary school.
Yeah, the month of October is traditionally Fire Prevention Month, so we're very lucky to partner with the Froney Fire Company, and on Thursday they're going to bring the trucks and do the assemblies. It was a big hit last year. You know, they even turn on the hose for these kids, so it's a fun thing, and everyone gets a hat. So each grade level will spend about 40 minutes going through the trucks and then learning about fire prevention. So that's a big deal for the kids. We also partner with the Harvest View greenhouses right down the road. They've historically donated flowers and different things like that. And we do take some kids down there for a field trip. So our 2nd grade and 3rd grade over the course of the past 2 weeks will go to Harvest View. So that's been a big hit for the kids. Our science kits are in full implementation. The 4th grade is currently learning about human body systems. They're making little simulations for eyes and bones, and the activities have been something that's kind of interesting to me. So the kids have really enjoyed that. We had the iReady mascot. His name is Snarg. He looks like a big Smurf character, and he had the opportunity to visit every single classroom today and presented a certificate of achievement to the students because we had 100% of our building complete the fall diagnostic, so that was a big deal. So we want to continue celebrating our accomplishments in the elementary school. And we had our outdoor movie night sponsored by the PTO, which was 2 weeks ago. And we're going to work towards doing a trunk or treat, trick-or-treating activity that's been kind of popular in other areas where people come and park in the parking lot. You can kind of just hit a whole bunch of cars in a very short amount of time. So we're still working on fine-tuning that. And that is about it.
Great, thank you. Ms. Farrell.
So I don't have any events to highlight tonight, but we've talked a lot about responding to needs of students. We talked about shortages of subs and staff. So I just wanted to make a few brief comments reflecting gratitude, I guess. So we started the year with a lot of significant unanticipated needs. We've had difficulty filling aid positions, the daily lack of subs, right? These are things we're dealing with pretty every day. And I guess I just wanted to say I'm grateful to the people in my department, special ed teachers and related services, for their advocacy for students. They've prioritized student needs above their own, and they've been flexible and dedicated. And I think as a group, all of us have reached beyond our own frustrations to support students and each other. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Forbes.
Appreciate all the comments about the transportation, but what the contracts and the motions don't show is the patience that the other administrators have had to have as we work through it, because obviously they're trying to place students immediately, and we just not been able to always do that, so kudos to them for hanging in there.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's one of the things, we get into a gratitude board where every comment from the board is a thank you, and we haven't done that in the past few meetings, but that doesn't mean that we're not thankful. So, anyway, thank you. Ms. Slagle?
Thanks, John. So you'll find at your table, there's an open house coming up for the Career and Technical Education, or CTE, program at Lagunitas. So they are inviting our board members to attend that, to learn more about the program. If you can't attend, you can also scan that QR code and learn a little bit more about each of the programs. So it's just a nice highlight on some of the programs that our students are attending and have available to them. So just wanted to throw that out there to you guys.
Great. Thank you. Okay. You got any good jokes or anything? We're kind of early. No?
I think we've done a nice job and are ready to conclude our meeting.
Okay. All right. I guess if that's the case, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, and a second. Mr. Johnston. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Students, any adults up front can sign your